time for the working class of this country to have a little bit of power in Washington.
I promise you this, give me a chance, I'll go to the White House and I'll fight for your family.
This country has to pull together and understand that the people that we elect, and it's not just the President of the United States, they should have experience, they should have credentials, they should understand what they're doing.
I've been knocked down a whole hell of a lot. I know what it's like to be knocked down, but I know you have to get back up. We have to provide some safety and security for the American people.
You're watching NBC10 Decision 2020 Super Showdown.
And good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for this special edition of NBC 10 News. I'm Jim Rosenfield. And right now, a few states have polls closing on this, the most important day of the election year so far. So big, it's a super showdown on this Super Tuesday. Delegates in 14 states, they're up for grabs tonight. We won't have results for some of those states for several more hours. But take a look right here. From Maine to California, millions will be casting ballots and get us closer to a Democratic candidate. 4 states have already been through this, as we know: Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, the latest South Carolina on Saturday. And we still have some major battleground states still to come over the next 2 months, including Pennsylvania. And NBC 10's Lauren Make has been right alongside the candidates on the campaign trail for weeks. Lauren, you've been getting great insight out there in the field.
Yeah, Jim, we've also wanted to know what is important to voters here in our area and how they are making the decision as the field of candidates changes. Well, months ago, we interviewed some of the people that we now call the deciders. Now we have gone back to them to see if they're sticking with their candidate or if they're finding one at all.
Hi, I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm running for president.
As candidates got in the race and got out, voters are watching. We've been following the journey of some voters in our region as they figure out who will get their vote in the Democratic primary.
For me, what's important is education, number one, because I'm an educator.
We met John Coates before the Democratic candidates took the stage for their first debate.
I love Beto O'Rourke, but I don't think he's ready yet. I love Cory Booker. I don't think he's ready.
Both Beto O'Rourke and Cory Booker later dropped out. 7 months later, we're back to find out.
Tell me where you are right now.
Actually, I'm where I thought I wouldn't be. I'm actually behind Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren. She won me over.
How did she do that?
She's been consistent.
Coates says he had backed someone else.
I've supported Joe Biden all along, but he's been weak.
Now he's settled on Warren, not concerned about poor showings in some early states, but still worried about one thing.
The fear I have is I just don't think this country is ready to hand the reins over to a female. I think she's great. I think Hillary broke the ceiling, the glass ceiling, but I just don't believe that they're ready.
We met Rosie Gorman from Delaware County when Joe Biden launched his campaign in Philadelphia last spring.
Anything to get him elected.
And what did you do last time?
Not enough.
We met up with her again in Center City last week.
Do you still think that Joe Biden is the best one to go up against President Trump?
I think he's the only one to go up against Trump. I think if you look at his history, I think he's very strong on health care reform.
And Gorman believes Biden can get things done.
And I think if you look at Joe Biden's history, he knows how to go across party lines and get things done. And we need to get back to that.
In Chester County, we're catching up with Shelley Georgopoulos. She got involved with politics after the 2016 election.
It felt so disheartened and shocked and stunned that, at the results.
When we talked this fall, she'd identified the candidate she liked.
I've liked Elizabeth Warren from the get-go.
Now,
I'm a little frustrated that her campaign is running up against some less than fantastic success, but I personally still really like her a lot and support her.
Georgopoulos says she's seen Warren to be the fighter she knew she was, but the Malvern Democrat also would not object if Warren broke a particular promise, the one about who to take money from in the campaign.
I think that she is at a little bit of a disadvantage because she refuses to accept donations from big corporations and big donors and things like that, and I kind of wish that she wasn't quite so principled, because I think that she might have more momentum if she was willing to take more money from more places.
Tell me where you are right now.
I am probably the same place that I was before. Anybody but Trump.
Ryan Boyer has not made a decision on which Democrat to support. When we talked to him last year, the candidates were just introducing themselves to voters. Boyer, a father and grandfather who grew up in North Philadelphia and now serves as business manager of the Laborers District Council, was listening.
I want people to say the words union. Unions have helped build the middle class of America for years.
Months later, he's heard from the candidates.
Have any of the candidates surprised you?
Yes.
Who?
In a bad way, Joe Biden.
There was also a positive surprise.
One of the pleasant surprises is getting to know Amy Klobuchar. I never knew who she was. She's thoughtful. I like her.
He thinks she could run again. This year, Boyer is still undecided.
I thought that we would be out of it. I'm like, Pennsylvania, our primary is 428. They'll have it decided by then. Now we may have to weigh in because...
Does that make you feel a little pressure?
A lot of pressure. Because I think that the stakes are great.
A lot of pressure, and it's so great to revisit with those voters.
Yeah, we'll
over
continue to
time.
follow them.
Yeah, Lauren, thanks. And tonight the stakes are really high for candidates hoping to end the night as a delegate front-runner. How each state splits delegates, it can be confusing.
It can be confusing. Plus, the rules for how a Democrat gets the party's nomination changed this year. So we're breaking down exactly what you need to know about this process.
It starts in Iowa, where voters gather for caucuses.
I'm going to count and you count, and then we'll compare numbers.
NBC10 in Johnston, Iowa, where supporters in this school gym work to get their candidate enough votes.
1, 2. Biden, people, we need you!
To meet a threshold to compete.
We're not viable right now. We're about 10 people short. And so what they're doing is our precinct captains are over there negotiating and trying to get others that maybe aren't going to be viable.
I would join you guys. So.
The vote in Iowa is a lot about momentum.
We ended up with 6,000 more votes on the first ballot than anybody else.
Before candidates head to New Hampshire, the first in the nation primary.
Pete Buttigieg, 1,302.
We're building a community here.
With each state, the goal for these candidates for president is to get enough votes that they'll pick up delegates. That's what you need to get the Democratic Party's nomination. And that's why Super Tuesday is so super. More than a third of the nearly 4,000 pledged delegates are up for grabs on this day. To win the nomination, a candidate needs 1,991 delegates on the first ballot at the Democratic National Convention. We are stronger together. You'll see those delegates sitting by state on the floor of the convention, just like they did last time in Philadelphia. This year it will be Milwaukee, where the decision is made official, either by the number of delegates collected along the way from Iowa.
Put your hand up if you want to vote for Joe.
Through the rest of the states, or by Democrats at the convention, if no one gets enough.
And coming up a little later in the show, we'll hear from one of those so-called super delegates who gets to vote only if no one reaches that magic number. Now, candidates don't just pick up delegates tonight or throughout the process unless they reach 15% of the vote, either in congressional districts or statewide. And if you drop out of the race for now, you do keep what you've won.
And here's the race so far to capture those 1,991 delegates so far. Look behind us. Bernie Sanders has 60, Joe Biden 53, Pete Buttigieg 26, Elizabeth Warren with 8, and Amy Klobuchar at 7. Now, the eventual nominee needs a good showing in Pennsylvania to take back the White House. Pennsylvania, as we know, played a major role in the 2016 election that put President Trump in office.
This time around, it is no different. So Republicans are already working on the ground to mobilize volunteers, to reach out to voters, and to keep Pennsylvania red.
We won Pennsylvania the last time, and we're going to win it again, but even bigger.
Work aiming to make that happen
to say hello to you
is already underway in Pennsylvania.
Today, we are going to be knocking on doors and letting people know why we support the president.
Here in Bucks County, volunteers targeting both Republican voters and undecideds in an effort to keep Pennsylvania red this year.
We've already started with neighborhood team leaders that are being identified, recruited, and have signed up.
We sat down with the chair of Pennsylvania's Republican Party, Lawrence Tabas, who has a prediction.
We will not lose a single voter that voted for the president in 2016.
The party and the Trump campaign are also looking to turn out people who voted for then-candidate Trump in 2016, but skipped the 2018 race when President Trump was not on the ballot. and Democrats took control of the House of Representatives.
How do you find those people?
We know who they are.
How did you figure that out?
Well, we live in a digital data age where everything about everybody is known.
Tabus says there are hundreds of thousands of them, but won't divulge a specific number. As the campaign steps up its pitch to African-American voters, Philadelphia is among the cities set to get a Black Voices for Trump community center. The campaign releasing this rendering of what they'd look like.
I think when you go back to 2016, you heard the president's message to the Black community around the country. He basically said, what do you have to lose to vote for me? I'm actually going to get out there and fight for you.
Exit polls from 2016 show 7% of Black voters in Pennsylvania voting for President Trump, who did better with Black men. 14% voted for him 4 years ago. Efforts on the ground to support the president's re-election also rely on the president himself.
When he has a rally on TV or he has a speech that he's making or the State of the Union, we gather throughout Pennsylvania in different locations. Our supporters come in, it energizes them, we bring in swing voters.
Essentially creating watch parties that help Republicans here focus on reaching Pennsylvania voters, no matter where the president is speaking.
And money, as we know, is one of the big ways to sway voters, and there's a lot of it out there. According to advertising analytics, more than $1 billion has already been spent on TV, radio, and digital ads during this presidential contest.
The biggest spender on the Democratic side is Mike Bloomberg. He spent $7 million per day in January to send out his message. But as some candidates have learned, money does not always guarantee success.
In 3 days, people have contributed $9 million to this campaign.
Money keeps campaigns going. The more you have, the more you can spend on branded buses, big rallies, and commercials. The Democrat with the most money, Mike Bloomberg, is already airing them in the Philadelphia region and beyond.
And the Bloomberg campaign is a clear testament to the fact of if you spend enough money, you can build your national standing in the polls. Now, where's the ceiling for that? We'll see. We'll see on Super Tuesday.
We sat down with J.J. Balaban, a partner at Win, a company that makes campaign commercials, though none for any current presidential candidates. We looked at some of the ads campaigns are churning out, like this one from the former New York mayor.
Today, that makes him the only Democrat in the race who's created 20,000 jobs.
It's a strong ad because, first, he's contrasting himself with Trump by talking about how he's self-made, right, as opposed to Trump, who inherited his business from his father, right? So, but then he's using the line, the only Democrat. So he's trying to differentiate himself from everyone else without being negative.
Here's an ad from Senator Bernie Sanders.
Initially, I was a Joe Biden supporter. I switched from the Biden campaign to the Sanders campaign because I want to see the kind of lines around the building that we saw in 2008.
It's directly trying to answer the electability argument.
So it also pictures him with Obama and sort of compares the crowds to that sort of enthusiasm that we saw in 2008.
Right. He's trying to cast himself as the heir to the Obama legacy.
Using the popular former president is a theme in ads. Former Vice President Joe Biden has done it, so has Senator Elizabeth Warren.
In the campaign ad world, what are sort of the unwritten rules about using the image of someone who has not endorsed you?
Well, it can be risky, except there's strength in numbers. Because all of the candidates have used President Obama in their ads, it makes it safe for all of them individually.
Ads are just part of what campaigns are buying with their campaign cash. Here's a snapshot of the money they put out in January. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren may look like big spenders among the group until you see how much billionaires Tom Steyer and Mike Bloomberg spent. For Steyer, all that money did not pay off in enough votes. He dropped out of the race this weekend. In Iowa last month, we talked about the millions he was putting into his campaign.
What do you see as the role of money in politics these days?
Look, to me, the issue that will make every single one of those candidates rise or fall is message. Do you have a message for the American people and for Democratic primary voters that is different, important, and where you're a trusted person to make it happen?
All right, we have this just in tonight. NBC News is projecting Bernie Sanders as the winner of the Vermont primary, and it's an expected win for the longtime congressman and senator who had a 40-point lead in some of the polling. The Virginia polls just closed. NBC News is projecting Joe Biden as the winner there. This is his second primary win after South Carolina. This is Decision 2020 Super Showdown, and we're right back.
This week, 3 incredible episodes of Wednesday's most watched and talked about dramas.
Get in, now!
He's gonna lose his leg.
Figure something out.
That car's been in the water at least 40 minutes.
Who's the driver?
This wasn't an accident. It was murder.
Armed robbery graduated to homicide.
He's going down no matter what. Are you going down with him? I'm not gonna help you.
He's a violent criminal who beats women. What are we missing?
An all-new Chicago Wednesday on NBC.
In life, there are talkers and there are doers. Mike Bloomberg has spent his life getting things done. Started a company from scratch, creating 20,000 good-paying jobs. That's getting it done. As mayor, he rebuilt a shaken city after 9/11, created over 450,000 jobs, expanded healthcare to 700,000, and raised teacher pay. Elected for 3 terms because he got things done. Mike beat the NRA, strengthening gun laws. He beat big coal, closing over 300 dirty coal-fired plants. Mike is still getting things done. So ask yourself, for president, do you want a debater or a doer? Someone with workable, common-sense plans to fix healthcare and create jobs, who's done both. Mike has the record and resources to beat Trump, and it'll take both. But Mike will get it done.
I'm Mike Bloomberg, and I approve this message.
Many times, on my first call with a client after a car crash, they tell me they're not the type of person who sues. If you feel that same way, here are 2 very important things you need to know. First, many times when you hire our law firm, we can resolve your claim without suing anyone. And second, if you do have to sue someone, you're really suing their insurance company. Their insurance company is responsible for paying the claim and defense. We rarely, if ever, bring claims against people without insurance. Now you know. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Longhorn's bone-in bold flavor is here. Now, we could tell you steak on the bone is juicier and has a flavor that'll keep you coming back, but we'd rather let it speak for itself. It makes some good points. Come in for Longhorn's bone-in bold flavor with our one and only 18-ounce Outlaw ribeye. Back for a limited time, our grilled lamb chops and our full-flavor 18-ounce T-bone. That's how steak is done. Longhorn Steakhouse. You can't fake steak.
Make time to escape to the coast and enjoy 60 miles of beautiful beaches and let the sound of the ocean's tide take you to your happy place. Now's the perfect time to book your spring getaway to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Besides, you deserve it. Seize your moment now and come, let go, and unwind on Myrtle Beach Time.
Let go and unwind on Myrtle Beach Time.
You're watching NBC10 Decision 2020 Super Showdown.
Here's an NBC News exit poll tonight. 1 in 7 Super Tuesday voters will not pledge support to the Democratic ticket, and it's supporters of former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg who were least likely to commit to a Democratic vote in this exit poll. I'm here with Democratic consultant Eleanor Desi and GOP analyst Joe Watkins, who are joining us to sort of break down what we are watching for Super Tuesday. But let's talk about this exit poll first. Eleanor, that could be potentially a lot of people. This is a small sample,
yes.
But if that were to hold, that's a lot of people not voting for the Democratic nominee.
Yes, and there could be a brokered convention, which would be unusual. We haven't had one in a long time, but it could happen. And actually, the person that's really pushing for that is Mike Bloomberg. He really wants the brokered convention. That's
because
his only
he won't
chance.
have enough delegates.
Exactly, exactly. And right now, everybody's saying there were a lot of people that voted before Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg got out, and they're wondering what's happening to their delegates. Well, just remember, they didn't get out of the race. They suspended their campaign. So the delegates that they have that are committed to them are still committed to them. So it's not like Mike Bloomberg can make a play for those delegates. They're already with them.
So this is the first time we are seeing Mike Bloomberg on the ballot, the first time we are going to see who votes for him if people vote for him. But he is already at a disadvantage because he doesn't have any delegates. Joe, he has this strategy of skipping these early states. Could it still work for him?
Well, I don't really see an easy path for him to win the nomination by virtue of delegates. So Eleanor was absolutely right. A brokered convention is his best bet. But he has the capital, unlike any other candidate in the race, to stay all the way through to the end. So, you know, a brokered convention means that he can use his capital. He's already been effective with his TV commercials and the ads on the internet, which are very, very effective. Everywhere you go, I can't watch YouTube or Instagram without seeing a Mike Bloomberg ad. So or turn it on the television and not see a Mike Bloomberg ad. So he's going to continue to be a huge force from that standpoint. But I don't see any path at all for him to win the delegates needed to be nominated.
The person who may have the best path here is Bernie Sanders. Could he essentially lock everyone out tonight of their path?
I don't think so. I don't think he's going to lock everyone out tonight. I mean, I think he'll do very well, especially like in California. But we're going to see in California something really interesting media-wise. 85 cents of every dollar spent on ads was spent by Mike Bloomberg. So, you know, did he get to some of the Latino population, the African Americans, the liberal young whites that he was really, you know, they were really trying to focus on in California? We're really going to see if media really covers it this time, or do we go back to Tip O'Neill, all politics is local, and do they really still want to, you know, see the candidate? I think that we're going to see something different here. I'm really curious tonight to see California and Texas because Bloomberg spent fortunes there.
You know, one of the other things that I'm interested to see other than those states is North Carolina as well, because we don't have a lot of battleground states on Super Tuesday. But what could we learn for the general election from what we see, Joe, in the Super Tuesday results?
Well, so if you look at North Carolina, for instance, they have a significant African-American population. And one of the challenges that Bernie Sanders faces, of course, is that while he has a lot of young people who like him, and he's even got some rappers like Chuck D who are big supporters of his, he doesn't do well with African-American voters. Witness the drubbing he took at the hands of Joe Biden last Saturday in the South Carolina primary. I mean, Joe Biden won that decisively with African-American voters. And the only way Democrats win or competitive in November is if there's a large African-American turnout. So North Carolina becomes one of those important states to watch, because if Bernie Sanders wins, let's just say, but manages to win without getting a majority of African-American votes, or if Joe Biden wins with a majority of African-American votes, that tells you very, very much the strengths and weaknesses of those two main candidates as we head out of Super Tuesday.
Interesting about North Carolina, there was some studies done about the African-American Democratic vote, and it has gone down since 2016 in North Carolina. So the ground game down there is really working hard for Biden to get the vote out. And the older African-American population there likes Biden because they like Obama.
Absolutely.
And they figured if Obama said this was a good guy to be his vice president, they're going to stay with the tried and true.
All right, I'm going to leave it right there, but we are going to continue our conversation on NBC10.com later tonight. So you guys stick around. Now, President Obama is one of the Democratic Party's most popular figures and powerful voices. Now, as Democrats look for a candidate to get behind, we sat down with one of the former president's biggest fans in Philadelphia. We're going to have that coming up, Jim.
He's hidden by the family, but he's in the family.
That's former President Barack Obama, tucked behind the family pictures at Deborah Green's home and in a place of honor on the wall.
This is my shrine.
Green and the Williams sisters are big fans of and former volunteers for the former president.
This is us at the White House
Christmas
during the second term.
Yeah.
We sat down with the Philadelphia women who've known each other their whole lives, Veranda Williams, Ann Williams-Graham, and Deborah Green, in the midst of another presidential election.
How are you feeling now? Are you finding anyone who is inspiring you the way President Obama did?
Me, honestly, I'm on the fence.
President Obama was someone who could bring them out even when he wasn't on the ballot. We first met these women dressed in Obama gear at a 2018 rally where he spoke for other candidates.
And that is you, the American people.
Through this election, they've been drawn to different candidates, but they're sure of one thing: their vote in November.
Whatever Democrat runs, or is at the end of our,
Is either win nomination.
I'm going to vote blue.
And that's
whoever
the way
wins
I'm
the
going.
nomination, I'm going to vote blue.
You won't feel that way. You're
Yes, but I do wish Biden would win, and I just wish that he would speak more, and because the other people they just argue, and it's just so much division. There's no class. How come they can't be polite?
So far, the man they have so much respect for, President Obama, has not weighed in on the race.
Do you want to hear from President Obama about who he supports?
No. He'll let us know at the end.
They think the former president has the right strategy.
If he comes out now, and then that person that he chooses is not the nominee, it could suppress the vote. So I believe that
people would say, "Oh, this wasn't Obama's choice, so I'm not going to."
Exactly.
Even before a nominee is chosen, the women say they're already talking to family and neighbors and Democrats, hoping to lay the groundwork for a win in Pennsylvania.
I'm confident. Pennsylvania is blue this year.
I'm confident too.
As far as I am praying.
You're confident. You're confident, and you're praying.
I'm praying.
Power of prayer right there. So they're not all in for one candidate this time, the way they were for Barack Obama, but you got to love their passion. They are engaged.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to follow them as well. They will join our deciders, so we'll be checking back in with them.
Looking forward to that, Lauren. All right, and we have this just in, NBC News projecting Bernie Sanders the winner of the Vermont primary. As we told you, that's an expected win for him. He had a 40-point lead in some of the polling there. And to Virginia, the polls just closed. NBC News once again projecting Joe Biden as the winner there. This his second primary win after South Carolina. This is Decision 2020, our Super Showdown special here on NBC10. We continue to follow results for you. We'll bring them to you. And we'll be right back.
In college, you were a tennis-playing biology art major that went on to grad school. And now you're ready for the next part of your journey. Maybe you're ready to pursue a passion, buy a home, or launch your own business. Whatever you decide, you're ready for some extra money. You're ready to refinance your student loans, and Citizens Bank is ready to help. Wherever your journey takes you, we're here for you along the way. You're made ready, and so are we. Citizens Bank.
From this moment on, be open to surprises. Let joy run free. Make memories to cherish, because we are the storytellers of life.
Plan your uniquely Orlando vacation today at visitorlando.com.
Our customers love the Window Nation experience because it's very easy, it's very smooth.
Windows based on their needs, their house, and their climate.
Window Nation's commitment to service is laser-like. We're not going to leave until you're 100% satisfied with our work.
We installed over 150,000 windows last year with 99.5% requiring no follow-up service. A dedication to service, a commitment to quality, that's what we do.
Quality windows you can own. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free. Go to windownation.com.
There's a smile that's waiting to shine right through. There's a smile that looks so good on you.
Right now, receive a $500 savings on braces or Invisalign at any one of Dr. Hodges' convenient locations. Philadelphia's premier orthodontist for over 20 years.
I have wanted braces for a long time, and money was always an issue. But having the payment plan makes it so much easier.
Visit HodgesOrtho.com because a beautiful smile is your best accessory.
When you go to work, you want to feel appreciated. That's why you'll find everything you're looking for in a career at Raymore & Flanigan. Like big opportunities, plenty of training, people with all different backgrounds, and a stable, balanced environment. At Raymore & Flanigan, you'll find people who love what they do. You'll feel welcome. Get everything you want in a career and more. Raymore & Flanigan.
For 60 years, people throughout Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware have called 1-800-LUNDY-LAW, like Cheryl from Wilmington, who was horribly injured in an auto accident. We fight to get you the help you need and the money you deserve. Don't take our word for it. See what our clients have said about us. If you've been injured in an auto accident, pick up the phone and call 1-800-LUNDY-LAW. Remember this name, Lundy Law.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lester Holt in New York. Polls have now closed in North Carolina, and NBC News projects that Joe Biden has won the North Carolina primary, a decisive win and the second southern state of the night in the Biden column, after NBC News also projected that Biden has won in Virginia. Senator Bernie Sanders, as expected, has done well in his home state. NBC News projects that Sanders has won in Vermont. And there are plenty of contests ahead tonight, with poll closings coming at the top of the hour in Alabama, Maine, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And later tonight, two big ones, Texas and California. The race for delegates is on. We'll be back on the air at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We will stay with you throughout the night to provide complete Super Tuesday coverage with our team here in New York and across the country. Stay with us. For now, I'm Lester Holt, NBC News, New York.
Maybe it's a time for the working class of this country to have a little bit of power in Washington.
I promise you this, give me a chance, I'll go to the White House and I'll fight for your family.
This country has to pull together and understand that the people that we elect, and it's not just the President of the United States, they should have experience, they should have credentials, they should understand what they're doing.
What unites us is so much bigger than what divides us, and that we need a candidate that can bring people with her.
Let's put forward somebody who actually lives and works in a middle-class neighborhood. Let's put forward somebody who's actually a Democrat.
I've been knocked down a whole hell of a lot. I know what it's like to be knocked down, but I know you have to get back up. We have to provide some safety and security for the American people.
Welcome back to Decision 2020 Super Showdown. Once again, I'm Jim Rosenfield along with Lauren Make. Of course, a couple of those candidates have now suspended their campaigns, trying to consolidate support around Joe Biden. More polls are closing right now. We just heard North Carolina has gone to Biden. That wrapped up just minutes ago. All right, take a look at the big picture here. 14 states, 1 territory, and Democrats abroad also voting today. 4 states have already voted. Several battleground states, they're still to come, including Pennsylvania at the end of April. And the big question, should Pennsylvanians vote earlier in the primary process?
More than 60%, Jim, of the delegates will have already been awarded by the time Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Delaware vote. There is a push to move Pennsylvania's primary date up next time around, a move that could give Pennsylvania more clout.
Because of you, we are taking this campaign to Nevada.
Candidates getting their first tests in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, and then all these other states before Pennsylvania gets its say.
In many years in the past, it really has been over, and if it wasn't for our significance in a general election, we wouldn't be all that relevant in selecting the president.
Sharif Street is vice chair of the Pennsylvania Democratic Party and a state senator who voted in favor of a bill to move up Pennsylvania's primary, this year scheduled for April 28th.
Why should Pennsylvania be earlier?
Pennsylvania should be earlier because we're a diverse state, we're a representative state, we're really a microcosm of America.
According to census data, 90% of New Hampshire residents are white, 85% in Iowa, compared with 76% in Pennsylvania. Nationally, the number is more like 60%, with larger Black and Hispanic populations than in any of those states. On our trip to New Hampshire, we met a former Temple student who now lives in New Hampshire and was making her decision about who to support.
New Hampshire isn't as diverse as some of the other states, and so picking a candidate who can speak to more than just the people in New Hampshire, I think, is really important.
Pennsylvania is also different from these other states, though, in size.
As you know, Pennsylvania is huge. It is harder to travel around. How would that work?
Well, I think people would have to, look, the country is big, too.
Senator Street says gubernatorial and Senate candidates make it work in Pennsylvania. The bill to change the primary, which passed by not only a bipartisan but unanimous vote in the state Senate, sets out a new date as the third Tuesday in March. The measure would need to be passed in the House, and Street says he thinks there is time and political will to get it done for 2024. But it's not a sure thing.
I think it's a proposal, and we get a lot of those coming across our desks daily. But I think it's an important one.
Pennsylvania State Representative Martina White is a Republican in the Pennsylvania House who also serves as chair of the Republican Party of Philadelphia.
I've been talking with some of my other fellow colleagues in the House, and we're a little concerned about the fact that the petition cycle would be earlier than it already is in Pennsylvania, and we know how difficult it can be to have a lot of people go out to get those signatures for the candidates.
But in terms of presidential elections, White says a change could give Pennsylvania more influence.
We would definitely have the ability as a purple state to influence who the presidential candidate would be as they move to the general.
She says she and her colleagues will give the proposal a look.
So for now, we have to live with that date in late April. We should expect to see plenty of visits from each candidate as we get closer to the primary here in PA. So what message do they need to work on to win over Pennsylvania voters?
Yeah, well, there isn't just one, and that's what makes it tough. They're going to find a lot of voters with a lot of different opinions on issues in different parts of the state. I talked with some of the voters they'll have to convince.
On the campaign trail, handshakes, photos, and a chance for voters to tell the people running for president what's on their mind. When candidates get to our region, they'll find new challenges and potentially lots of new voters. The Philly region, including South Jersey and Delaware, is home to at least a dozen colleges and universities, translating into thousands of students who will bring their own point of view to the polls.
I think that environmental awareness is probably like my biggest issue.
I've been liking Bernie for a while.
I feel like there's a lot of poverty going on, and that's resulting in like crimes.
Nationwide, 28% of young voters turned out in the 2018 midterm, according to research from Tufts University, doubling the 2014 midterm estimate. To get Maria Ribeiro's vote, she's looking for specifics.
I'm honestly just so exhausted of politicians kind of just saying things that they actually don't mean, just to get certain people to love them and to support them in the wrong ways. And it's cool, you're pro marijuana, but how are you going to treat my immigrant family? You want free college, but how are you actually going to get there?
Candidates will find another challenge in the size of Pennsylvania and what residents in different parts care about.
You can't say the opposite in different parts of the state, but Democrats in different parts of the state have different values.
One example J.J. Balaban from political media firm The Win Company gives, the idea of banning fracking, a way of extracting natural gas.
That's a reasonably popular position to Democrats in southeastern Pennsylvania. That's not a very popular position in southwestern Pennsylvania around Pittsburgh. Why? Because that's where there are thousands of people that are employed because of the fracking industry.
In the eastern part of Pennsylvania where we are, progressive politicians have been gaining power in Philadelphia. A Working Families Party candidate earning a seat on the city council, the mayor and DA endorsing Elizabeth Warren, the 2019 election's highest vote getter on council endorsing Bernie Sanders. The Philly region is also home to labor unions who represent workers and invited candidates to pitch their ideas to members last year. I sat down with Philadelphia Council AFL-CIO President Pat Eiding.
Are there things that they haven't addressed yet that your members are saying they'd like some answers for?
Infrastructure. I don't think there's any, no matter what industry the unions are in, everybody knows by now that, a real infrastructure program that every president has talked about and done nothing about would solve the problems of the world.
But Eiding also warns views among workers on issues and the president vary around the state.
You got the pockets of folks, especially in the steel mill areas, the miner areas, where this guy's still got them believing they're going to have some new stuff open up.
So no matter your issue or your candidate, we all need to be aware of changes to the voting process come primary day in your state. You might be going to a familiar polling place, but inside you could find something different. NBC 10's Keith Jones shows us what's in store.
I'm glad it's over.
It's just simple, follow, press and go.
Do you worry about cyber attacks?
Yes, I do.
There's a lot of anxiety about voting this year.
I watched the video 3 times and I still didn't know what I was doing, but It worked.
That's why we're showing you what's new at your polling place.
There's always a learning curve, and one of the more troubling things is if we're having to make this change in a historic election year. I mean, there will be record turnout for sure.
In Philly, 3,800 new machines featuring touchscreens are expected to be up and running. They come with a paper ballot stored for auditing purposes. In Bucks, Montgomery, Delaware, and Chester counties, you'll also vote using newer machines. Paper ballots will be scanned and stored for verification. Bill Henderson is used to the old push-button method.
Concerned that there are going to be people confused with how they're doing the process.
But election officials aren't concerned. Plus, for the first time, anyone who lives in Pennsylvania can mail in their ballot. It's different in New Jersey, where you'll still find those big old electronic machines. And finally, in Delaware, residents started voting on these new machines last year. They feature big touchscreens with a paper record.
You're going to put the ballot in.
Wherever you vote, and you should, it's better to be prepared before you go.
We work at the polls usually, so on election day, there's going to be a crush of people coming in who have never used this before, and I think there's going to be a lot of questions to answer.
Keith Jones, NBC10 News.
Yeah, as a voter, you just want to have to worry about my choice on election day, not how the machine works.
Yeah.
Right? So from the polls to the polls, those phone or online questionnaires, they're one way we know how people are feeling about political races, but they've let us down before. So how much can we really trust them?
It is a question that a lot of people asked after 2016. So we went to Monmouth, New Jersey, the home of the Monmouth University Polling Institute, to find out how it works and what's changed.
They're a powerful player in the 2020 race. Presidential polls determining who makes the debate stage, cited by candidates when the numbers are good for them.
He beats Trump by the most nationally, and in the states, we have to win.
Criticized when they're bad.
Monmouth? I never even heard Monmouth. What the hell is Monmouth? What is Monmouth? Explain it. I don't like Monmouth. You know why I don't like it? Because they always treat me badly also.
Monmouth University's Polling Institute in New Jersey has been the target of criticism and praise by President Trump before he was elected. Now they're producing data on the 2020 race. We went to the Monmouth University campus in New Jersey, where inside its polling institute, they analyzed the data from voters with the help of people like graduate assistant Connor Wagner, here working on Washington State.
We're taking the primary turnout data, we're putting it in so we can analyze each year's election results.
We sat down with the Institute's director, Patrick Murray.
Polling tells you where you are right now. It doesn't predict where you're going to go.
It's a reality Murray makes sure to tell us more than once. In a year when so many Democrats are trying to figure out which candidate can beat President Trump. Here's one voter I met in New Hampshire.
I'm definitely an issues voter, but I think this is a different time. And
you're voting differently this year?
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up voting for who I think would be able to stand up to him.
How do you know?
You don't know.
Do you feel that pressure this year?
Yeah, that was a tough one, and I've actually asked a lot of questions in our polling to find out, okay, what does electability mean to you?
Murray seeing something different about this cycle.
I think I've seen this more than we've seen in any other race, where these primary voters are looking for outside cues to help them make the right choice.
Murray is looking at things a little differently, too. In 2016, when then-candidate Donald Trump faced off against Hillary Clinton, Monmouth's last poll in Pennsylvania before the election showed Clinton with a 4-point edge over Trump. Trump's narrow victory in the state was still within the margin of error for the poll, but Murray looked for some answers.
In that presidential race, we were really good on the eastern part of Pennsylvania, from the Philadelphia and its suburbs all the way up to Scranton, as well as the Pittsburgh suburbs. It was the central part of the state where we found that we had a certain type of Democratic-leaning working-class voter who wouldn't pick up the phone and talk to us.
So it was just sort of a black hole. You didn't.
So there was a bit of a black hole that caused our polls to be off by a couple of points on Trump's support in Pennsylvania.
He also looked at who voted, finding the likely voters they'd interviewed who ultimately did not show up at the polls were more likely to have said they'd be supporting Clinton. One change from 2016, Murray says he's looking more at education in the Monmouth polls and looking more closely at the polling in rural areas and aware especially of voters who might not want to talk to pollsters.
We have to take a look at how to overcome that. That's not a huge problem, but it's a problem of about 1, maybe possibly 2 points.
That could be enough.
And that could be enough to change the outcome.
So he's learned some key lessons from the last election, right? So what are some of the questions he's asking this time around?
Yeah, I asked him what's the most important question he asks, and he says it's questions around whether voters feel that government has their back and whether they are benefiting from the economy. He says that is what is moving the electorate right now.
All right, Lauren, thank you. And we just have another update for you. The North Carolina polls, they just closed minutes ago. NBC News is projecting Joe Biden as the winner there. It's already his second win tonight after he picked up Virginia. And coming up next, the minority group that could have a major voice in who becomes our next president. Decision 2020 Super Showdown is back right after this.
This week, 3 incredible episodes of Wednesday's most watched and talked about dramas.
Get in, now!
He's gonna lose his leg.
Figure something out.
That car's been in the water at least 40 minutes.
Who's the driver?
This wasn't an accident. It was murder.
Armed robbery graduated to homicide.
He's going down no matter what. Are you going down with him? I'm not gonna help you.
He's a violent criminal, beats women. What are we missing?
An all-new Chicago Wednesday on NBC.
To be a great explorer, you need intelligent four-wheel drive, an active terrain management system, the most available driver assist technology of any vehicle in its class, and enough cargo space for any adventure. The all-new 2020 Ford Explorer. It's the greatest exploration vehicle of all time.
Right now, get a 2020 Explorer with $6,000 total savings below MSRP, or lease for only $289 a month. That's just $289.
Mom, can we have burgers?
Sure. Fries?
Yep.
Milkshakes?
You got it.
Nutritious twists at prices you'll love. That's a combination you'll only find at Giant.
Save big. Sweet strawberries or blackberries. This week, buy one, get one free.
Every Thursday is ladies' dinner at my house. It's just the ladies. Sit all night if we want to. It's my way of showing love and appreciation to my family. I've been at St. Cecilia's for 10 years, making sure that children get good breakfast and lunch at school. Taking care of people is what I like to do, but 2 years ago, I needed people to take care of me.
Pat had a more aggressive form of uterine cancer, which required radiation and chemotherapy.
I knew there was something wrong, so I called my sister for her gynecologist.
I knew MD Anderson Cooper was where my sister Pat needed to be.
So I made the appointment for Dr. Duffy. When you first meet her, she just puts you at ease. It's who you want for a surgeon.
It's a real team approach to give the best care.
At MD Anderson Cooper, I felt like I was going to survive.
Her personality is strong and lighthearted.
Cheers, cheers. To many more years.
At MD Anderson Cooper, no one fights cancer alone.
Now's the time to upgrade your tub or shower with Bath Fitter. Call now and give your bathroom the makeover it deserves with our one-of-a-kind one-piece seamless wall. Plus, for a limited time, you'll get up to $600 in tub and shower upgrades. That's more safety, more luxury, more bang for your buck. All with a lifetime warranty on labor and materials. Call today and upgrade with Bath Fitter because there's only one perfect fit.
We're the perfect fit.
Who has 5 lawyers who are also medical doctors, the most of any law firm in America? Klein and Spector. Maybe that's why the Philadelphia Inquirer calls Klein and Spector one of the country's leading personal injury firms.
You're watching NBC10 Decision 2020 Super Showdown.
With new endorsements after a big win in South Carolina, part of the moderate wing of the Democratic Party is consolidating around former Vice President Joe Biden. As this was happening, I talked to one of Biden's biggest supporters here in Philadelphia, Ed Rendell. He is also one of the people who would have a say if no one gets enough delegates for the nomination. What is happening right now behind the scenes in the Democratic Party?
Well, I think there are 2 things. Number one, candidates like Buttigieg and Klobuchar, they were in it to win. You don't really get into a race to drop out and endorse someone else. So there's a moment when you confront the fact that you're not going to win. It's almost a bitter pill for you to swallow. But then you think of what the mission was, and the mission for every Democrat I've ever spoken to is to get rid of Donald Trump. And to do that, we have to field our strongest candidate. So there are two things at play here. Number one, a belief that Bernie Sanders cannot beat Donald Trump, which I don't share. I think he can.
You think he can beat him?
Yes, but I think he's much
in
less,
Pennsylvania and in the country?
Yes, but he's much less likely to beat him than Joe Biden is. So that's number one. And number two, tremendous respect for Joe Biden. I mean, Barack Obama said Joe Biden was the best vice president in the history of the country. And I'm not sure that's an overstatement. I think when you consider what Joe Biden did, getting the health care bill through the Congress and into reality, doing a great job running the stimulus program, I think he's one of the best human beings I've ever met. Forget politics. He's one of the best human beings I've ever met.
Why is that not coming through to some voters, though? I mean, I've talked to voters here in Pennsylvania who really, really like Joe Biden, but they're just disappointed in what they've seen from him on the campaign trail.
Well, I think Joe Biden's never been good at debating. You know why? Because he can't put answers into 35, 40 seconds.
You are one of the, used to be called superdelegates. I think they're now called automatic delegates. Do you think that there will be a second ballot for you to vote on?
It's possible. It depends on if Mayor Bloomberg stays in the race and how many delegates he gets. Depends on whether Elizabeth Warren stays in the race and how many delegates she gets. If those four stay in the race, there's a really distinct possibility that we'll go to Milwaukee without anybody having enough votes on the first ballot. If I am a superdelegate, I intend to vote for whoever carries Pennsylvania. If Bernie Sanders carries Pennsylvania, I'll vote for Bernie Sanders.
Even if Joe Biden is still viable at the convention?
Absolutely. I think it's, as a Pennsylvania superdelegate, I believe, and I don't say that everyone should believe this, but I believe that I should represent the wishes of the Democrats in Pennsylvania.
Ed Rendell there, really interesting. All right, as more and more polls close tonight, we will get a better sense of who Democratic voters are supporting this year. Many believe it's the Hispanic population with the power to move the needle. NBC10's Stephen Fisher shows us the role the Hispanic community could play in choosing the next president.
Here in Reading, a largely Hispanic city, voter registration is way up.
At the Hispanic Center, we've been working on voter engagement and voter registrations for the last 10 years.
And it's been working, not only here, but across the entire country. Pew Research Center is predicting for the first time ever, Hispanics will be the largest racial or ethnic minority group in the electorate, with slightly more than 13% of eligible voters.
The Latino electorate is an electorate that cannot be ignored anymore. The numbers dictate that.
We have an amazing power to elect who should represent us.
Yohani Cepeda Fritiz is a Reading City Council member and the owner of Mi Casa Su Casa restaurant. She says picking the right candidate is a lot like picking the right ingredients, something everyone needs to choose for themselves.
It's of extreme importance for people to understand the value that their voice and their vote carries.
That value is becoming more clear by the day.
The momentum has certainly shifted, and we need to seize the moment, and that moment is now.
Jose Miranda of Berks County says among issues like health care and fair wages, he desperately wants a new sense of unity.
There's a lot of divide in this country, and we need to bring the people together.
Super Tuesday results could reveal a new truth, that the Hispanic voice weighs more now than ever before. The only worry, will they make that voice heard when the time comes?
The changes will happen only if they bring the numbers out, because if we are the majority, we can make a change.
As Super Tuesday results continue to come to light, many within the Hispanic community are anxious to see who received the most Hispanic support. In Reading, Stephen Fisher, NBC 10 News.
All right, I want to show you another NBC News exit poll right now. 3 in 10 Super Tuesday voters say they selected a candidate in just the last few days. Now, this is data combined from surveys in the 12 out of the 14 states that are voting today. So people making some last-minute decisions right before Super Tuesday.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how that affects Joe Biden with the boost that he has gotten in the past few days with the endorsements, with the win in South Carolina. But 3 in 10, That means 7 in 10 had already made their decision, maybe even turned in some early votes.
They knew who they wanted.
Yeah.
All right, Lauren Make. And our live Super Tuesday coverage, it doesn't end here. We're continuing the conversation on the NBC10 app and also at NBC10.com. We'll have live results from across the country, and our guests, Eleanor Desi and Joe Watkins, will join Lauren to look ahead to the local primaries. Just tap on the NBC10 app right now or visit NBC10.com.
Also, don't forget our...
Something my bank gave me.
Santander gave me Simply Right checking. Use the account once a month and there's no monthly fee and no runaround. Get the respect you deserve at Santander Bank.
Nice sleep center, Bob. But what is a Bobopedic?
I could tell you, but I'd rather show you.
Oh, Bob's got a feel for your budget.
They deliver right to your door.
With 30 years of sleep experience, the best warranty, and so much more.
Bob's Bobopedic, from your head down to your feet. It feels like no mattress you felt before.
Wow!
Uh-oh.
Bob's Bobopedic.
The amazing thing about Morgan & Morgan is that not only are we the largest personal injury law firm in America, we're also very much a local law firm. And our office right here in your town, you will find dedicated, hardworking neighbors of yours who are committed to fighting for you, for the people. And as members of your community, we share your values and are available whenever you need us. We're from your city, we're in your city, we are for the people. Morgan & Morgan.
At NJM Insurance, we know that everyone's a little different. But no matter where you live or what you drive, NJM will be right there with you, making sure that you've got the coverage that's right for you, and you, and you. This isn't just insurance. It's NJM.
In life, there are talkers and there are doers. Mike Bloomberg has spent his life getting things done. Started a company from scratch, creating 20,000 good-paying jobs. That's getting it done. As mayor, he rebuilt a shaken city after 9/11. Created over 450,000 jobs, expanded healthcare to 700,000, and raised teacher pay. Elected for 3 terms because he got things done. Mike beat the NRA, strengthening gun laws. He beat big coal, closing over 300 dirty coal-fired plants. Mike is still getting things done. So ask yourself, for president, do you want a debater or a doer? Someone with workable, common-sense plans to fix healthcare and create jobs, who's done both. Mike has the record and resources to beat Trump, and it'll take both. But Mike will get it done.
I'm Mike Bloomberg, and I approve this message.
It came with my new checking account.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Your bank gave you a one-trick pony.
What did your bank give you?
My Santander app does tons of things, like instant card hold and alerts.
Get the respect you deserve at Santander Bank.
Don't forget our primaries are just around the corner. Pennsylvania and Delaware are on April 28th. New Jersey is June 2nd.
And don't go anywhere. NBC News coverage of Super Tuesday is just getting started. 7 more polls are just about to close. For Lauren Make, I'm Jim Rosenfield. Turn now to NBC10.com for more Super Tuesday coverage, and I'll see you back here with Jacqueline London tonight at 11. Have a great evening.
What's great about HomeSpire is when they came to talk to us about the installation, it was very informative. They brought the glass that is so great, it's so secure, it's energy efficient, and they actually jumped on it to show me how unbreakable it is, which freaked me out a little bit, but was really cool to see that it is so secure. Always has worried me with our cheap door that someone could just bust through the window, unlock it, and come in my house. So knowing that we have this security now makes me feel a lot safer in my own home.
Experience a new era of windows and doors. Get started with HomeSpire today.
Shouldn't you pay less when you use less data? Now you can, because Xfinity Mobile gives you more flexible data. You can choose to share data between lines, mix with unlimited, or switch it up at any time. All on the most reliable wireless network, which means you can save money without compromising on coverage. Get more flexible data, the most reliable network, and more savings. Plus, get $300 off when you buy a new Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. That's simple, easy, awesome. Call, click, or visit a store today.
You're on the road and now you pray it
Sometimes we prosper most when we help others. We respect that because at Santander Bank, respect adds up.
Ready to go when you are.
Wow, you look nice. Getting around isn't as easy as it used to be. That's why we called Bath Fitter. They removed our old tub and installed a beautiful new spacious shower. Now, getting in and out is a breeze. And we have peace of mind with seamless walls that provide a watertight fit, plus their lifetime guarantee. Thanks to Bath Fitter, life is so much easier with a shower we love.
Call today for this month's offer.